Come on, step it up!
Hello and welcome to Naturally Uncanny Reviews. Come on, step it up. This is your host Steve, and we got Brad and Alex here. And yeah, this is going to be kind of a short podcast this week because not too much happened in the news, but hopefully we'll have a lot of content.
And Walking Dead is coming on soon.
Oh yeah, so well, at least Alex is in a bit of a rush. But yeah, so let's just hop in straight into our first topic of discussion. This is off Gamasutra.com. 3DS outsells Vita 47-1 in Japan. So last week in Japan, the 3DS sold about 190,000 units, while the Vita only sold 4,000. So I'm okay with saying the Vita is very close to like death right now. It's almost brain dead. Almost. Like, what do you guys make of this?
Well, as the only guy here, both in this chat and a part of the new reviews team, who actually owns a Vita.
You mean a paperweight?
Yes, the official Sony paperweight. I can, in an unbiased opinion, it is a solid machine. It is a solid piece of hardware, and it has some really good titles on it. It has, you know, some really good games to be played. The problem is it doesn't have a lot of grab your attention things. Unlike Nintendo, who has, you know, their first-party titles, which are must-grabs for whatever system they make, they can make these titles that really push the software, or the hardware. The Sony really has to rely on their third parties, and the third parties are starting to find that it's because of the lack of sales, they don't think that their games will be able to sell if they make it for the Vita, so it's a loss of money. So they can't make titles to push the system because the system isn't selling, so it can't enlist people to make the titles for it to sell. It's this weird, it's this awful kind of loop that keeps going around and around and around and around and around. I think a big problem with it is because Sony's subscription service wasn't a part of the of Vita. So there are a lot of people who have it on the PS3. It's a great thing to have on the PS3, but there's.
Do you have a source on that, sir?
What? That's a great thing to have on the PS3?
No, that a lot of people have it. Like, is there like a ratio, like 4-to-1 or what? Like,
I don't have any data. I am assuming that if you have a PS3, likely you have the service.
All right. Well, you keep on going. I'm gonna look it up because I don't buy that.
Steve's gonna look it up. I'm pulling it out, man.
Is the service free?
No.
It's a subscription service. You can either buy a year of it or buy it 3 months at a time. It's a little like Xbox Gold, but there's some more.
What's better about it? Just real quick. I don't want to get too off topic, but
really, the only thing with when you subscribe to it, you get early access to some things. You get discounts on all stuff on the store every week, and you have what they call an instant game collection, which is a list of like anywhere between like 9 and 12 games that rotate every month that you can just download and play without having to purchase them.
I mean,
patches
you are technically purchasing them.
Go on.
Through the subscription.
What about it?
You're technically purchasing those games.
Technically, yes, because you pay for the subscription, but you don't.
And also, you have to pay to get a discount to pay again for downloads.
You guys are focusing. This is the problem with people who don't have this. You guys are focusing on the negatives. Yes, you have to pay for these quote-unquote free games, but you're only paying, if you buy the year subscription, you're only paying $50 for the entire year. In that entire year, you're getting a bunch of games that normally cost $10, $20, even $50 throughout all 12 months. So you are saving.
Oh, okay. So they're like legit games. They're not just like throwaways.
Paying the one-time $50.
All right. I mean, I guess that's cool.
Unlike like Xbox Live, where you have to buy their gold membership to access a ton of shit that you have to. A lot of like online shit you can only do with gold and all sorts of stuff like that.
But then again, for the PlayStation, you don't have to get that, and you'll still get access to.
Right. I know that. I used to have a PS3.
Exactly. It's optional, but it's a nice service to have.
Okay.
And those who do have the service don't complain about it. Because it's just a nice little thing, like, hey, I got this, I get all these nice games, and I have to pay a small amount. It's neat. The thing with that is it wasn't on the Vita, and it wasn't on that launch. So people who have a PS3 see the Vita, and they're like, well, I don't see why I should buy it. There's no games, and I don't have I don't have PlayStation Plus on. And people who don't have PS3 or PlayStation Plus are like, I don't see why I should, because it doesn't have games. But now that the PlayStation Plus service is coming to the Vita, I think sales might boost a little bit, especially with Black Friday and Christmas and all that stuff. But really the problem is the fact that there are no titles to push the system, and that's simply because the system's not doing well enough where a lot of third-party developers are thinking, hey, if we make some games to this, it'll sell. So it's sort of caught in this infinite spiral, and Sony's got to do something soonish to fix it. I personally think either price drop on systems or price drop on fucking memory cards, because it's goddamn expensive to buy a fucking memory card for this thing.
Okay, so I found an article off Kotaku, and Brad, you are right, because it says, well, partially right, because it says 93% of people who have the service tend to renew it, but the thing is, Sony is unwilling to release their statistics on how many people have PlayStation Plus. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not really a sign of either way of how many people have it. It's just a sign of Sony's being super stingent about shit, which Sony tends to be doing. I mean, there's no denying that fact.
Yeah, but I don't. Okay, besides like I guess Sony fans, I don't think having PlayStation Plus on Vita will drive it up significantly. But I guess it'll help. But I think the problem is mainly due to the lack of games. Either because developers don't want to develop for it, or it's too much to develop for, cost-wise.
Yeah, but I mean, for them to sell so poorly, I think that has to be a problem with marketing. I mean, how do you just sell 4,000 compared to almost 200,000? You know what I mean? It's like, how bad is your marketing? I mean, I don't know. Isn't the whole job of marketing to make something look appealing? I mean, I understand it might not have games or whatever, but I don't know. It just seems ridiculous.
I'll give you that. I'll give you the marketing, because I don't think I've ever seen a commercial.
But remember though, this is Japan.
No,
so this has nothing to do with the United States. But even in the United States, I mean, United States, you know what I see a lot of? I see a lot of the PS Vita Call of Duty commercials. But
I think that's the only commercial for the PS Vita.
Yeah, that's the only one I've really seen the Vita on. And that's more just who made Call of Duty? Was it Treyarch that made this one?
Actually,
I don't think it was Treyarch. No.
They passed it off to some other company.
It doesn't matter. Most of the code is probably the same anyway. But yeah, it's probably just the developer that actually put out the ads, not even the PS Vita. You know what I mean? I mean Sony.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. You would think at least in Japan it would do okay, because I know in Japan the PlayStation Portable had a way stronger library.
Yeah, but I think it's also because, has anyone jailbroken the PS Vita yet?
No.
That's probably why.
There is like an ongoing effort to.
Of course,
it's a weird thing. It's not fully jailbroken. Like, you can't pirate Vita games and play Vita games, but there is sort of an ongoing battle to get the PSP emulation cracked. Like, they'll have it for a couple weeks, and then Sony will patch it, and then they'll have to try and fix it again. But to the extent of pirating, the most that's ever been done is getting PSP emulation done, which is pretty much just what cracking the PSP does. It's just allowing you to download PSP games and play PSP games. And homebrew, because we don't support pirating on this channel. But,
Of course we
right.
don't.
Not gonna lie.
At least vocally.
You can they've already broken the 3DS, right? So you can have emulators and all that.
3DS is
3DS is airtight, really.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the most they got so far in 3DS is to get like they said they had to got Hello World to show up, but that's like the most they got so far.
I think actually like there are people that got DS emulation on the 3DS out of the way, so you could use a flash card to play DS games, but there's only like one flash card that you could possibly use for it, and it costs actually quite a bit of money to buy it.
And plus Nintendo is releasing firmware nowadays, so you know they're actually actively working against piracy, so
But I think though the appeal of the Nintendo store, like being able to download old games and everything, I think that's what really drives the sales on the Nintendo products. Like I think Nintendo makes more money selling their old games than they do on their new games.
And it's actually not just that, because actually today is November 18th, so the Wii U's out and stuff. But one really cool feature of the Wii U is that on their eShop, every single game that was released in stores, you're able to download straight to your Wii U. It's all there. So that's actually pretty cool.
So you can download full games that are released in stores through the Wii U?
Yeah, full games, like day one. It's not like,
Like
Xbox.
if you wanted to download Zombie U, you can do it.
I could do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, of course you would need a hard
Sick.
drive space, but you could use external hard drives for that.
Mm-hmm.
But
so yeah, I don't know. I think Nintendo just is a better game company in terms of just getting games out there.
To be fair, there are a number of titles that you can do that on with Sony's systems.
No, fair enough.
But
fair
on
enough,
day one, though?
I think Nintendo
On day one?
Day one, but I think like just the scale of like what Nintendo's doing, and just the fact that, fuck, I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Nintendo just did a better job in terms of releasing their products. They always have.
I'd like to think that that it's not so much that Nintendo is doing a better job. They'll probably do a better job marketing. I'll give you that. Sony doesn't market very well. Except for Kevin Butler. Kevin Butler was the best thing that they did marketing wise. But
you have to understand too that Nintendo had like the first hardcore handheld system.
The thing is,
like they've just been in the game longer.
Hold on, give me a second. Nintendo does dominate the handheld market. Fuck the iPhone and all that shit. Nintendo dominates the handheld market. Nintendo has always dominated the handheld market. There will never be a time when Nintendo is not dominating the handheld market. The thing is that when Nintendo is doing all these things, like being able to download your game straight from the shop to your system or whatever, it's the fact that Nintendo's never done this before that's kind of like making it seem like it's so good and it's so like it's such a good like thing that they're doing, while Sony's been doing this for years now. So it's like, oh, you can do this with Nintendo now, yeah, but you could do it with Sony way before then. But these are all Nintendo games, and everyone's got a boner for Nintendo games. But, I'm not bashing Nintendo games.
But they do have a one-up, though, because you could either download it day one either from the eShop, or you could, just go to shop and buy it. That's
you can
very
do that.
convenient.
You can do that with Vita and PS3 games, too.
But not all, you can't get, what's the latest one? You can't get Call of Duty or whatever on there, right?
Not all of them, no. I don't think
all of them.
I'd have to check the shop. I don't think you can get Call of Duty on the that. But it's still the fact that it's just because Nintendo is just starting to do this that it seems like it's such a big thing, and it's a nice thing. I'll give them that, but it's not as big a deal as some people might make it out. And again, I'm trying to be unbiased here because I do like both systems. Both systems offer things to me that I really enjoy. They're both great hardwares. It's just I think the Vita is getting a bum rap because of a situation that the weird circle that it's finding itself in. The word like constant, ever going spiral that it finds itself in, that it really needs help pulling itself out.
Alright. Any other last comments on this?
Consider buying a Vita?
I'll pass.
Yeah, I would pass. I would get a 3DS over a Vita. It's all about them old school games.
Not just that, like, most of their new games as well has been doing pretty up to snuff.
Also, I'd like to... This is something that's sort of related because it is Vita news related. There are talks in the works about Sony working again with PS2 emulation and bringing PS2 classics back to the PS3, like as actual, not HD remakes like we've been seeing a lot nowadays, but throw them on the shop like the PS1 classics and you're good to go. And there's also talks of that being transitioned over to the Vita as well, where you can buy PS2 games and throw them on your Vita and play them on the go, which I think would really help sales. PS2 is one of the best systems.
Yeah, but also all depends on the library of PS2 games they put in, because you have to understand that they have to get permission to re-release a lot of games. The thing with Nintendo is that a lot of the games are their games, like, in-house.
But the PS2 also had one of the strongest libraries that you could possibly ask for.
Well, when you look back at how long the PS2 has been out, it's not that surprising. Especially when it's one of the first systems that really had the graphics at the time, and then using the discs and all that. I mean, it was the future back in the day.
That's the thing, though. It had one of the strongest libraries for a system, and it's a library that pretty much everyone has memories of. And
right,
as long as they can grab the games, which I'm sure Sony would be able to do, even if it took a little time, they'd be able to grab the games, throw them on the system. It would really help push the sales of the Vita, because everyone has always wanted their favorite console games on the go.
Right.
Ever since goddamn fucking handheld games were prevalent, everyone's always wanted their favorite console games on the go. And if you can get the PS2's library, even a portion of the PS2's library on the go, that would really push sales of the system.
Well, I guess we'll have to see about that.
I mean, there is the Metal Gear Solid collection on the Vita, so that's kind of cool. But that'd probably be like the only thing I'd consider getting for it, except for maybe, I don't know, God Hand or something. But I don't have a Vita, unless it's like they're selling for $50 or something. Probably won't get one anytime soon. Yeah, our last topic will be, it's kind of a more generalized thing, but we'll kind of segue with this. Let's see, when was this released? Okay, about 2 weeks ago, the website EGM, that's Electronic Gaming Magazine, yeah, they're all online now. They released a review for Halo 4, well, not them, but Brandon Justice, who was executive editor or whatever, he released a review of Halo 4, giving it a 7.0, but which I would say, okay, that might be a bit of a fair score, but I believe he gave it for all the wrong reasons. And hold on, I'm trying to find that one particular line. These low points are openly exacerbated by the series' staunch refusal to get with the times when it comes to game mechanics and level design, ignoring obvious enhancements like big-ticket sequences and popular iron sight mechanics in favor of their age-old addiction to slow, methodical combat in unnecessarily large environments. Yeah, and you could just imagine the rest of the review kind of just expanding on that, but yeah, this is kind of segue into like bad game reviews, more or less. There's also been another review that's kind of been breaking ground on terms of like criticism, and it's GameSpot's review of Zombie U, where there's a leaked video of it, but I don't believe GameSpot has released an official review yet. Actually, let me check that up quick. Nope, they posted it. Yeah, they gave the game a 5 a 4.5, which is a poor score, but I believe it's kind of biased because if you see the video review, it sounds like the guy was expecting an experience kind of like Left 4 Dead, a very like action-orientated zombie game, but instead he was given Zombie U, which is more focused on survival, and I believe this is why he gave it a poor review, because he had different expectations.
Well, I think that most of these reviews are just an example of how people are not doing their job as a reviewer, which is to remain extremely objective and, you know, take things one at a time. They usually come with the expectations and their, I guess, what they're used to. You know, if you're primarily a Call of Duty player, you can't go into the Halo series thinking it's going to be like Call of Duty. Neither can you go into a survival horror game with the mentality of the action game that, you know, Left 4 Dead is. So I think that, you know, I'm pretty sure like there's more good examples of this, not only in video games, but yeah, I just think that video game reviewers, they stick too close to what they know and they judge everything based on that. And I think that they don't, you know, kind of open their mind to other things. So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
To be slightly fair, it is difficult to really separate yourself from really anything you go into. We all go into stuff with expectations. Sometimes they're not very high, and so whatever we experience is, you know, we experience it as objectively as we can. Sometimes they're extremely high, and we get disappointed because there's no way, and whatever we went into lived up to our expectations. That being said, there are some points to be made, even if what they say seems extremely biased. Like with the Zombie U review, the guy had, you know, points about how it takes way too long to melee kill a zombie, and that the action may seem to the gameplay may seem to favor more towards the faster paced multiplayer than the slower paced single player. But how he took the review may have not been as professional as he could have taken it. I'm not trying to mock the dude because he actually gets paid for this shit, unlike us. But the thing is, when you are getting paid for this shit, you really do need to, the best you can, not be biased. It's really hard when I review Sony Smash Bros. But
I mean, I understand if it's like some internet review channel, no reviews, and they put out a review that's very opinionated and whatnot. But yeah, if you're getting paid, I think that you really need to up your game severely.
Yeah, of course. Like, I've been trying to be, I don't know, as unbiased as possible when it comes to game reviews. Like, I'm not trying to overhype myself regarding games, or at least, like, certain games. Like, I'm trying, like, you know, take the game for what it is rather than what I want it to be. Although some games, I don't know, that could be debatable. Like Halo 4, Samir's working on a review for that, but I thought it was okay. Samir really doesn't like it, but it's for different reasons. But yeah, I'm just kind of trying to do my best to be unbiased as possible. Unless it's something like Sony Smash Bros, which I cannot agree with the game's concept in general, since it's such a blatant ripoff of Smash Bros. So there's no way I'd be able to review that at all. So that's why Rad's Plus he has what you're getting it for the Vita, right?
I bought the PS3 version, which is one of the first games.
Oh, then what was all of that talk about supporting the Vita?
Give me a fucking second. All right.
Because they're get the thingy-mabob, right? If you buy the PS3, yeah. All right, now I remember.
The PS3 version is one of the first games to incorporate their new cross-buy, which also will really fucking help. Well, it won't really help, but it might slightly help Vita sales. Where if you buy if it's a game that's released on both the Vita and the PS3, if you buy the PS3 version, you'll get a copy of the Vita version for free. So that's why I bought the PS3 version, so I could get both. Sure, I didn't really support the Vita sales, but I guess, you know, buying a Vita game doesn't really help support this, so I don't fucking know. The point is, it was the better deal.
I don't see that like point being like very advertised like anywhere really.
Again, it's one of those things that Sony is really bad at, and really bad advertising. 'Cause it is a really cool thing. It's a really like nice thing to like that they fucking did. They only really talked about it at E3, I think, or TGS, whichever one was the first one. The problem, I think, what Sony's main problem is they don't really advertise anything until a little after it comes out. Like, I didn't see those Call of Duty commercials until it was already out. If they were advertising Sony Smash Bros. Like a few weeks ago, started advertising that a couple weeks ago, it'd be fucking great.
Well,
Like-
I did see a like at the AMC movie theater nearby my place, they did have a commercial like that one particular trailer for Sony Smash Bros. So I don't know. I don't think people know
I don't
what
think
it-
it's
what
politically
it is,
correct to call it Sony Smash Bros.
That's what I'm calling it. Too bad. Like
I'll
I said, there's
I'll
no way I
refer
could
to
be
it-
unbiased about that game. I'm sorry. I apologize for that, but
I'll refer to it as something else in the review, but until the review comes out, it's Sony Smash Bros.
Sony All Stars, yay!
Probably just
PlayStation All-Stars.
Sony All Stars, but it's Sony Smash Bros. Even though it's not really Sony Smash Bros, it's Sony Smash Bros.
Alright, so I think that's about it. Alright, and that is Come On Step It Up, ending, whatever. I really suck at ending these. When do you guys end this?
That's it. Thank you for joining us. This podcast brought to you by the people who really think you should consider buying a Vita.
And Mountain Dew and Doritos.